Hello and welcome to the Property Mastermind podcast, episode 125. Today we are talking getting started in property development. Bob and I are going to talk about how to get started in property development, what to look out for, and how we might help you. It's going to be a great episode as usual. And if you're watching us on camera, you'll notice we're sitting a little bit differently today. We're sitting opposite each other. So let's jump on into episode 125. Hey, welcome to episode 125. Notice the new format. How good does this look, Bob?
I like the new format.
Yeah.
It's quite cash, sitting opposite you.
Yeah, it's different. Hopefully we remember to keep our mouths close to the mic.
To the mic.
Yeah, it's a mic issue.
Oh, well, we'll
hey,
get there.
Bob, getting started in property development. But before we do, let's give the book away.
Yep, do it.
So Property Millionaires Exposed, this one here, Will Latu. Will sent me an email, said I'd like the book. I'm like, why not? So, well, that will be in the post to you. And, of course, there's this amazing book here.
Tell me about that.
This book here, 3 Wines In, How to Increase Your Self-Confidence Today and Succeed in All Areas of Your Life Without the Hangover Tomorrow. This book is about how to set goals and achieve them with confidence and grow your confidence. Yep. So if you want a copy of that, I don't give this one away. You got to head over to, actually I'll put a link in the show notes. It's from my website, hilarysaxon.com. But anyway, grab yourself a copy. Blimmin' great Chrissy present. It's a great Christmas present.
Grab a couple.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, let's get into the podcast. And Bob, getting started in property development. Wow. Before we even unpack that, how many years ago was it that you got started in property development?
Oh, quite a while ago, early 80s, very early 80s.
Wow.
Yep.
Some people listening to this weren't even born when you got started in property development.
That's their fault.
Yeah. No, it's a great thing.
You know what it says, though?
It says that you're very experienced.
Well, it says that, but it says that it must be good if I'm still doing it.
Yes, it does.
Because I'm not the sort of person that would bang my head against a wall for 40 years.
No, because you did try a few other things.
Yeah.
And you decided they weren't for you. Good point.
So,
do you know what's interesting? I was, because I've gone back to playing golf, so I feel quite special because I get to say
it's all over here about now.
Yeah, for those golfers out there, you know what it's like. Anyway, I was sitting at ladies' golf yesterday, and this lady asked me, what do I do? And it's a weird one because when I say, I mean, pretty much I probably look more like a hairdresser than a property developer. But I said, I do a bit of property development actually. And she said, really? Me too. And I thought, what? And this lady was in her 80s. She was like the lady that counted up the points. And she goes, yes, I'm in a syndicate. And so I kind of thought, you probably, have $100,000 and with 400 other people doing something syndicate-wise like that. And then she explained, no, there's myself and about 4 others and we do. And that she started explaining what they did. And her brother's a lawyer and one's a town planner and one's this and one's that. And I thought, wow. How cool is that?
Yeah.
But I bet she never gets to have that conversation. And I wonder, which I will, because I've only just gone back to golf, I wonder how she got started. And I will go straight to her next week and find out.
Could be a podcast coming up.
Yeah, no, but how did she get started in property development?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it was just a really cool conversation. So.
Lots of different reasons people get involved, obviously.
People get started.
Yeah, I want to get involved in it.
Yeah, mostly it's because of the money.
Yeah. It's an attraction, the money.
And it's what the money does for you. What does money do for you? It gives you time back. It gives you freedom. Yeah. It's not necessarily for the paper that you put in your wallet.
No.
It's what that does for you.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, it's, the day job, the lifestyle, giving your family a better life, all that sort of stuff. Lots of reasons. I mean, but money is the driver.
Yeah.
But people have a whole range of things they'd like to do when they get their hands on some more money.
Yes, exactly. Well, Bob, I thought before we kick off, I'm eating my own here, which is annoying. I thought I'd talk about a few things that we've got going on.
Okay, take it away.
Well, you heard us talk about property development surprises last week. So we kicked off into a new development, which was cool. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, like we talked about, if we're doing it, then other people should be doing it too. If that's what you're thinking about, there is, the perfect time is now. That's that. And if you ever put things off, then you'll just wake up in a year's time and know that you put it off for a year, won't you?
Yeah, or 5 years' time, even worse.
Yes.
And we meet people like that.
On a regular basis.
Mm.
So the timing is good. And I also want to talk about my development.
Oh, that's
One of
so
mine.
exciting at the moment.
Yeah. So it finishes, titles are out. Is it titles out tomorrow?
Man, within the week.
Yeah, within the week. And there's an official opening, which I can't go to, but that's okay because there's a few reasons why. It's on the other side of the country, and I've got a diary clash, believe it or not. And I was like, oh no. Anyway, the project is an NDIS project, and I have housed a young man who I'm even going to get to pretty much meet. I'm pretty sure it's a 20-year lease, and he had a car accident in his 20s. So he has no legs. They were burned, and so he's in a wheelchair. And when he saw the apartment, he actually cried.
He loved it so much.
Yeah, it's a life changer.
That's his new home.
And it's beautiful. So, yeah, we've had a great builder do an amazing job.
Really fantastic fit out. Remember with the NDIS people that went through and did the final inspections, what they said?
Yeah.
It's the best one they've ever seen. And they go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them.
And the reason for that, and I don't know if we've mentioned it on the podcast, but one of the reasons was we changed to tilt slab because the brick prices went through the roof. So there were just some alterations. That was a later change, wasn't it? It wasn't the original.
Not just the bricks and blocks, the block layers.
Yeah.
And everybody else at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's turned out, that thing will be there for 200 years. It's an incredible building and just fitted out, no expense spared.
Yeah. So it feels nice to, well, one, it's going to feel nice to have a finished project to move on to something else there. And it's just been so held up. So I think that's why, the COVID
anticipation
did hold it up for such a long time. And we're finally there. And it feels like I've been talking about it forever. But I finally get to go, yay. So that's cool. Yay.
And it's a really heartwarming story about the tenant that's moving in there. I think tomorrow's moving in.
Yeah, and what is also cool is we've already started another development underway before the other one finishes, which is good, and we still have the retirement village underway. So we're still developing under so many.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and that's the
really.
tip of the iceberg. Yeah, exactly. So that is another great story. And then another story, I'm not sure if I shared this last week, but we had a mentoring student call us, and he'd done his FISO on a particular set of numbers, and there's been a price increase by $200,000 for both sides. So
on the sale price, not the cost side.
Yeah, on the sale price. So instead of a nice, healthy $600,000 profit on his first development, here's a nice, healthy $1 million profit. Hey, Bob.
Yeah, and the other side of that story, it's a joint venture.
Yeah,
with his dad.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
It is very cool. Goes past.
I think
pretty
more
cool.
sons should do joint ventures with their fathers.
Maybe we did talk about that already, or was that at the workshop? But anyway.
It's a great story.
So let's talk about getting started in property development. We've talked about you in the past. You just had that feeling that you wanted to do something to make money.
I had to.
Yeah, because you were broke.
Well, yeah. As
and
you
living
know,
on your parents' couch.
Coming out of a very bad car accident.
Yeah.
18 months on it. Well, out of action.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to do something, and it sort of appealed to me. But that's a whole story in itself. But, we all... Well, once again, it was back to money.
Yeah.
And I had to make up for a lot of lost time. And the whole thing appealed to me. I'd always been interested a bit in land and building construction and that as a young man without really doing much about it. So I was drawn to it.
So, Bob, what I believe is the first thing when it comes to getting started in property development, it is...
I know what you're going to say.
It is mindset.
Mindset.
It is. So what was your mindset at the time? Why were you 6 foot tall and bulletproof? Where did that come from?
Why was I?
Yeah.
I think, I was confident. I was a confident young man. I was probably dangerously confident. Like as you say, I think you said 6 foot tall and bulletproof. I think the other saying is 10 foot tall and bulletproof. But whatever it is, I probably did feel a bit that way. I was confident because I'd had some cash businesses. I'd done okay as in business as quite a young man. Had some successes there, and I just sort of felt like I could pretty much tackle anything and do okay at it because I had a strong work ethic, which I got from my dad, and I thought, well, average intelligence, strong work ethic, if I
Would
want
you
to
say
do it.
you are so not average intelligence, Bob? You're reasonably smart.
I'm the guy that failed uni after 6 months.
It's because you didn't bother going.
Oh, yeah, there was a reason.
You've actually got you've got to attend to get the result.
Oh, damn, that's what I did
You've
wrong.
actually showed me in the park for the trees you used to lie under.
Yeah, true. In
Yeah.
the botanical gardens.
Yeah.
Next to the university. Well, that's okay. But yeah, I mean, I was confident, but I was dangerous. I mean, I could have failed. I could have failed had I not met, one or two of the right people to hold my hand.
And we do see that even now, the odd person, we know that they're a bit dangerous or reckless and they just get through because maybe an uplift and perhaps like yourself. And I know you've had stories after those first few that you did get caught out, that you had to play a bit of a long game.
Yep.
And I don't think we've ever talked about that on here, but we can talk about that one day, maybe not today, because you won't always get away with it, taking risks. And I think back in earlier days, people probably got away with a lot more, whereas now there's a lot more regulations. We've got construction costs higher.
Yeah.
They've got the cost of money. Things. Would you say that things are a little bit different?
Well, things are different. I mean, how you do a property development hasn't changed much.
No.
You got to buy a site, you got to finance it, you got to get your approvals, got to build it, got to sell it. That remains the same, but much more sophisticated market these days. People are more sophisticated, buyers are more sophisticated, developers. We've got technology on our side these days that I never had when I started out. I used to do my feasibilities on a foolscap piece of paper with a pen and a calculator.
Yeah.
And once I got it right, I'd type it up on an IBM electric typewriter with golf ball thing. So
yeah.
that was high tech for me. That was seriously high tech.
Yeah.
But the thing is, banks lent me money and I made a profit.
Yeah.
But it's very different these days.
Yeah, it is very different. As in, would you say it's a little bit more risky these days?
I don't know that it's more risky. I think I took plenty of risks. I think it can be less risky because, see, I had nobody to learn off. There weren't any courses. There weren't any books. I did get a little bit of help, as you know, from a fellow who became my first sort of mentor, really. But and so in that respect, I was a bit lucky. But I think in those days it may have been a bit harder because I wanted to learn, but where do you go? There was no uni courses, books,
nothing.
No, mentors,
no podcast like us.
No podcast, nothing.
No.
And so I had to do it without all of that, and I had to try and sort of reverse engineer what I thought was going on. I'd try and examine a development as best I could, and so so they sold it, so it got built. Who built it? Like, what did that cost? Try and just keep reverse engineering. So I think it was tougher then, honestly.
So where did that mindset come from? You think it was your dad?
Oh no, it was me.
Oh, you just had.
Oh well, no, my dad gave me the work ethic.
Yeah.
My dad was a very hard worker. He was a spray painter, a panel beater, and a mechanic. He had 3 trades.
Yeah.
And his way of making money or extra money was to work harder. He simply traded time for money.
Yep.
But he was prepared to do that. And he used to have a job during the week and he'd work on weekends, spraying cars to get extra money, that sort of thing, to give his family a better life. So I learnt work ethic. And for a while I didn't really know the difference between using your brain and just using your hands. So for a while I just worked really long hours and had 3 businesses and, did that. I didn't realise at the time that life can be a bit different.
So when we're talking about getting started in property development being a mindset thing, it just came naturally to you. So for people listening, if you've been thinking about property development for a while, or if you think about anything, if it's you have something you want to achieve, then it has to come from the up here first. You have to have that level of belief that it's possible for you, because if you keep putting that off and procrastinating, you will be here this time next year rerunning these podcasts or listening to us at episode 100 or 220 something, whatever it is, or
wow,
200.
Can't wait for that.
It'll still be in the 100s. If we had 52 now or whatever.
Yeah.
But you'll hear. You could still be in the same place. And Bob has just alluded to the fact that it's probably easier now. So if it's something you want to do and you are a procrastinator, have a think about that, hey?
Oh, yeah. Look, as I said earlier, we meet people. Some of them just phone in. A lot of them are people we may have had contact with years ago because they've been around a while, right? So we've been doing this for quite a while. And they said, oh, I did your course in 2015. And what do we say? Oh, tremendous.
What have you done?
What have you done? Oh, I just wish I'd started back then. You know, 7 years ago, their wealth would probably be 4 times what it is now had they started. And they're regretful. I've seen people almost crying to, having like spun tires for 5 years or whatever it is,
Yeah.
And, that's, but better now than, than I'll wait another 5 years.
Yeah. So if it's something you're thinking about, the first obstacle you're going to have to overcome is what you tell yourself.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter whether your age, race, anything, like female, male, nothing matters. What matters is that you decide that you're going to do it and then you do it. So the next thing, actually, I had a conversation today with a young guy, and he can definitely do it. I know, because he's already done some. There's a few things that I know that I could help him with. And I believe that with our help, my help, he would do it faster. And I think that's another thing. So
speed.
Yeah, but I think we'll come to that at the end, because I'll actually get back to that. So, Bob, if we've got the right mindset, the next thing, obviously, we need to have the knowledge.
Yeah, without that, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
And we meet people like that too.
Yeah. So when it comes to the knowledge, it's that understanding of what you need to do in what order. And you might think, oh, I'll work it out on the run, but time costs money. And when you don't know that you should be doing this while this is being done, or when things aren't happening in the right time,
or the right order,
then
or you miss a step,
and the wheels can come off,
and got to slam the brakes on, go backwards. And all of that costs money. Every day is money in property development.
Yeah. So how to get started? You need to get educated. You actually
absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go
that's not unusual with a lot of occupations to get educated. People spend 4 years at uni to derive a very little amount of knowledge to start a career.
Yes.
And the good thing is you don't have to spend 4 years at uni to learn property development.
No, correct.
And you'll make a lot more money than you probably would out of your degree course.
Exactly. And that investment in yourself is massive, because it's so minor in the scheme of things for what if your first development, like the student we spoke to the other day, if your first development makes you $1 million, I mean, put things in perspective, really. I mean, that's quite an amazing duplex story.
That's a great story. But
yeah.
What if it's,
$400,000?
$400,000.
Yeah. I put things in perspective. It's what...
that's the thing is, that's not instead of a job.
No.
As you know, most people start off doing their first project when they have a day job. So it's on top of the day job.
Exactly.
And so life doesn't change as far as your day. Hopefully your day job is getting you over the line, covering your bills and everything. And all of a sudden, bingo, like $400,000 pops up. You got to pay tax on it, but gee, I love paying tax. I'm a weirdo. And the more tax I pay, the better.
That means you're earning a decent amount of money.
Well, yep. If you're paying more tax, you're earning more.
Exactly. So the thing with education, there are...
Critical,
it is critical. And we're going to go down the road and, you might be listening and think, of course you're going to say that, because, that's part of what we do. We sell education.
Well, but that's how it started.
Yes.
This whole education thing, Property Mastermind, started by seeing people getting into trouble.
By relying on a friend telling them, but they don't know what you don't know.
Or trying to learn it, anywhere from ill-informed people, from, trying to learn it on the internet and getting themselves into all sorts of bother. And that's how it all started. That's why originally Luke and I wrote the book, and it's how Property Mastermind got going, to cut down on the number of people who stupidly get themselves into trouble.
To lay out the process of what you need to do, the order you need to do it, and, what has to happen. Tick all the boxes, spreadsheets, downloadables, checklists, follow the flow chart, follow the chart.
Follow the bouncing ball.
Follow that bouncing ball. So I've just got a few numbers. This is what I really like. Property development is a jigsaw puzzle. The internet might give you some of the pieces, but it won't give you the whole picture. So you do need to understand what the whole picture is to do a full development.
Yeah, and if you're not learning properly, this piece is missing.
Yeah.
You'll get there and there'll be all these little holes, and like they all cost money.
Even down to marketing, Bob, and that's something we probably don't talk about a huge amount. But marketing with the right real estate agent is vital.
Yep.
Because if say you've got 2 and they're different, or you've got 4, and the positioning's different wherever they are, they need to be sold in an order that you maximize your profit. And only a good real estate agent will know how to do that. Hey,
Yeah, and alternatively, if the standard approach isn't working, and that's I'm thinking about a project at the moment. We're having difficulty selling it into a local market.
yes,
So the agent said, "All right, look, we're getting a lot of inquiry from this particular city in a different state," and started a Facebook campaign there, which was very, very cheap. It was like $1,000, and a buyer came out of that straight away. Like thinking outside the box, looking for something else, understanding that some inquiry was coming there. It's not working locally. Do that,
yeah.
and it worked. That's the sort of agent you want, not somebody who just rocks up and goes through the motions on a Saturday with people walking through and doesn't do the follow-ups and all that sort of stuff.
And that's just one aspect toward the end, but all those little, that's that one. There are little aspects right the way through with those examples that save you time, that save you money, that ensure that the process is done effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, and particularly during the construction stage,
Yeah.
which can go on for many months, and you're dealing with builders, and you might not know a lot about construction. That's okay, but like there's just so many places you can go wrong if you don't know what you don't know.
So we're talking about that jigsaw, and so what a good education, what some good education will do. It will get you going in the right order at the right pace. It will teach you how to do it. Yeah. So the next, Bob, I want to talk about if people are. So we've gone through. It starts up here. You've got to start with the fact that you have to believe it's possible for you, and it absolutely is. But if you don't have that belief, you're not going to do anything. And then you need to get educated. And even if you are educated, then you need to actually take action, because thinking about it, nothing will happen.
That's a big step.
Yeah,
that's where a lot of people fall by the wayside. They get that far, but taking the action, a head full of knowledge is going to do you a lot of good.
Yeah.
So it's that. And that's where you come in. I mean, that's why you're so valuable in our business, because you bridge the gap for people to get them into action.
And just the little actions that need to happen. And sometimes it's little things like tidying up what your day looks like, finding where you do have that capacity to do it, or maybe you need to hire particular people to do particular things. And that could be cleaning your house, so you don't do that, so you do something else. But it could also be finding sites for you, researching, whatever it is.
Yep.
There are strategies around making sure that you take those actions. So Bob, most people that we work with, even like, we've got different things going on ourselves, but most of the people we work with generally start off with a duplex or a 3 or a 4. Do you want to break down the reasons why you think that that's a great place to start?
Well,
to get started.
Most people are comfortable with residential real estate because we live in it.
Yeah.
They may have their own home. They may have an investment property. We're comfortable with it. We know it. We know how it works.
Yeah.
And we've got some basic knowledge of finance as far as owning your own home or an investment property. So that's a good place to start. So don't try and retire out of your first project. Don't tackle something that's too big financially. So look, the smaller things are good. It could be a 2-lot subdivision where you build 1 or 2 houses, a duplex. They're all good places to start. If you've got a little bit more capital, or you've got a joint venture partner, you want to start off a little bit bigger, 3 or 4 townhouses. I don't recommend apartments first up. They're a bit of a different world. You can certainly work your way into apartments a bit later down the track. I don't recommend you jump straight into them. But, if you were to do a 3 townhouse project or a 12 townhouse project, you would learn just as much out of the 3 townhouse project. You'd make less money because one's 12 and one's 3, but you'd have to put a lot more money in, basically 4 times as much to do the 12. But it's fair in terms of learning, and that's one of the big things off your first project. Sure, we do it because we want to make money, and that's important. But I always say you'll learn more off your first project than you'll ever learn off any other project. And it has to be a good experience for you. If it was a bad experience, you probably wouldn't do a second one, which would be awfully sad. So start off small. Don't try and get too big too quickly. And that's, we've seen what happens to people who try and go a bit big too early, particularly if they don't have the capital. They're trying to find investors. You've got to find more investors. You've got to find more wealthy investors. And I've seen people shoot too high like that in the first project and not really attain it until they wasted 12 or 18 months and then go back and start smaller and then go and nail, say, a nice duplex.
So the reason a lot of it is the confidence factor. And confidence, I'm going to circle back to the beginning, but confidence helps with mindset. So the more confident that you are because you've had a great experience, the more likely you're going to move forward and then do more or rinse and repeat. Which is something that so we're getting started in property development, Bob. We've decided that we're going to do, let's go with a duplex. It's very common in our community at the moment anyway, because they seem to be working in the places where our students are looking. So if we have that good experience, and I just use the word rinse and repeat, do you believe that somebody should do the same thing again? What are your thoughts there? If you're just new to property development, or do you think that they should start or try something else?
Not immediately. The old story, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I mean, if you were to do a duplex and do well, why would you want to change that? You do another one. If you want to do something bigger, do two. But there come a point where you might want to step up and do some townhouses as well. So that's okay. I mean, they're not much different. A duplex is a big house with a wall up the middle. Townhouses are like 3 of those joined together, or 4. It's not that complex. But and look, most people want to move up a bit in size because that example I gave before, 3 townhouses versus 12, and I said you'd learn just as much off doing 3 as 12. You do make considerable more money out of the 12, probably 4 times what you'd make out of the 3, but it's not 4 times the work. It wouldn't even be twice the work. And so if you had a chance at some point to do 12 rather than 4 threes, you'd do 12 because it'd be half the work of 4 threes or less. So that's another thing later. You can graduate up to that.
Bob, we often talk to people that maybe haven't had a good experience on their first because they didn't get educated or they just didn't have the right support around them. So in your experience, would that have happened more to people who have done larger projects, or is it just anyone? Is it nothing in particular?
Oh, the biggest problem I've seen with people wanting to tackle large projects first up is that they actually never even get them off the ground. Because of what is a large project? It varies from person to person. I'll keep away from apartments because I don't think you should start there at all. But, you might want to tackle 12 townhouses, but your financial capacity says you should only be doing 3. And that's okay if you can get some investors together. But like people can fail there, because they haven't been educated on how to raise funds, how to deal with investors, how to do all that. And they might not even necessarily get to the project. I mean, if you've got enough capital to get into the project, that's the first hurdle. So when I say start with smaller ones, it does depend a little bit on your finances when you start off. We've had people join our mentoring program with $5, and we've had people join not many.
No.
It's probably not a good idea. But we've had people join our mentoring program with $5 million, and they can afford to start off with a much larger project first up simply because of the amount of capital they got.
We do teach inside the course different strategies for people who don't have a lot of money. So for how to attract investors, how the types of strategies that you can use.
Different structures you can use.
Yeah, so we do talk about that in there. It not just skim over it. There are modules.
Collectively, we've got deep knowledge on that subject.
Yeah, so that is something. So that doesn't necessarily have to be a barrier if you are committed to doing property development and you don't think you have enough money to get started, or you have none. That does not have to be a barrier. You just have to know where to go and how to get investors, and we work with that all the time. So we've just covered off there. Well, the follow up from that question, Bob. What about we've talked about housing. I'm going to throw just a curveball in, which I haven't given you a heads up on. But what about things like commercial, childcares, retirement villages, hospital. Oh, no, hospital's not really, it's a bit out of the bag. But
there's
those
there's
sorts
lots
of
of
things,
specialty stuff, yeah.
and even
Well, in your case, you're just finishing
NDIS,
an NDIS project,
and even
student
those student
accommodation,
accommodations,
rooming houses,
yeah,
all those sorts of things. They're what you call specialised residential,
yeah,
and often those sorts of developments are ones that you'd like to keep because of the income stream. They might not be big on capital gain, but they're certainly good for an income stream. And the old saying, cash is king. We've got to have cash flowing in. So there are opportunities that you could develop and keep as an investment. Not necessarily out of your first project, but, two, number three, whatever. Certainly. And, we're in that space as well. We teach different ways of making money. You mentioned retirement villages. That's probably on the bigger end of town. But
you think, Bob? You think?
Well, they're very capital intensive up front.
Oh my gosh, are they ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
They are, but something to aspire to down the track.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot about that capital raise. I'd never raised capital before, and that became my role. And it's a
you're doing it this afternoon.
Yeah, I know. I'm even doing it now. I've got some more going on, but it is definitely something you have to be comfortable with, asking people how much money they got, how much money they're wanting to invest, and you just have to be up front. I used to be many years ago a personal trainer, so I used to fat test people. You put calibers on them and pinch them, and I would do it like it means nothing because you do it every day. It'd be like anyone else listening to this, whatever your profession is, you do it. You don't even think about it. So when I'm capital raising, I just easily say, "Oh, so how much money do you have, and when's it available?" I just say it how that is, and my daughter works with us in the office, and she said to me, "You probably shouldn't ask people that." And I thought, well, that's pretty much the conversation.
Yeah.
That's what I need to know. And
if they're responding to an offer that's gone out, and they say, "I want to find out more about it," could be an investor. I mean, that's pretty critical.
I know, yeah.
Do you have the money?
Yeah, so otherwise we're all just wasting time, and I don't want. It's a time-consuming process as it is. So, so that's another thing, that money doesn't have to stop. So,
no.
You were talking about the specialised residential.
Yeah.
So not looking at getting started in that, but they are opportunities. How far down the track, Bob, would you say getting involved in those?
It could be your first project, but they can be a bit complex.
Yeah.
Like, as you know, something like NDIS, the whole design is extremely critical there. If you don't get that right, you're in big trouble. If you don't get it approved, you're in big trouble. If you'd want to try and de-risk it like you did with your joint venture partner by getting tenants in it, there's a bit to it. Rooming houses, I mean, they're pretty common these days. Lots of people do rooming houses. That's something you could do fairly early in the piece.
Yep.
You could even do a two-lot subdivision and do a rooming house on each lot. But sometimes the finance is a bit different on some of these things. They don't lend as much money on it.
Okay.
Because they're specialised securities as far as finance is concerned, they might not lend as much, the loan-to-value ratio, which means you've got to put in more money of yours and they put in less of theirs. And that can be, it can be an issue, but you just need to be aware of these things.
Okay. All right, so that just mucks around finance potentially.
Well, yeah, you might have to come up with more money than you thought.
That was a nice smile that you gave me then over the table. It's because we're not sitting next to each other.
I give you lots of nice smiles. You don't notice.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Well, then the other thing, I suppose I'm almost up to the types of property development you might do. We're starting small. The reason for that is really to build up your own confidence, have a good experience, feel competent. So the last question, I suppose, would be, what should people, what should they look out for if they want to get started in property development? What would be the thing that you would say you need to watch out for this? What would that be, Bob? The big one.
I don't want it to sound like an ad, but choose wisely when you choose a coach or a mentor or an educator.
Yeah.
Do your research. Do your due diligence like you would on a project.
Yeah. Cheap is not better. And more expensive is not
better either.
No, I know. I've heard of it.
Same with everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like anything that you're buying, do your research. You're buying a car, you're buying some, I don't know, whatever you're buying. stuff from JB Hi-Fi. You want to buy a new TV? Do your research. Like we always, or we should research before we spend money. And the same thing with property development education. It's not 5 cents.
No.
It's really important. Do your due diligence. Make sure you get all the right answers.
Mm.
And then, but don't just do that. Do something. Make a commitment. When you found who you're happy with, make a commitment.
Yeah, make a commitment and doing it and do it. So I'm going to just kind of wind up with what we have available when it comes to getting started in property development. We're about to put out something, a new smaller masterclass for people, and that will be out in the next probably 6 weeks. So that might be useful for people interested.
That's free.
Yeah, that will be free.
Yep.
But we do have our property accelerator, which it comes with the 4 courses, but it's for people interested in property development. It's kind of like, I'm thinking about learning about it. I'm probably not going to even get started for another year.
Yeah, I'd like to learn the basics.
Yeah,
how they come together.
Yeah, that would be there. So if that's something, that's like $1 for the first month, and then $149 a month after that, and after 12 months, it's whatever.
And there's 4 different courses in that. Don't forget.
There's a mindset course. There's a renovation course. There's a getting started in property development course, and there's a small subdivision course, which is pretty good.
4 courses.
Yeah. So, and they just release monthly. So that's why it's, reasonably
priced. It's a
priced.
property development banquet of 4 courses.
It is. So maybe that's something you're interested in. But if you're a bit more serious and you want to have our full property development course.
Yeah, really want to get traction, get into it.
Yeah, that's it. You can just you can get the whole course at once, and you can check that out on our website. Or you're welcome to have a chat with me if you want to know that's right for you. Just hit the click and chat to Hilary button. I'm sure that's somewhere to be below, or I'm sure there's one below, or head to the website and you can contact me and have a chat and see if it's right for you. Or if you actually want to be ensured that next year property development is on your radar and it's happening, then maybe it's time to talk to us about our mentoring program, what we offer. We don't work with everybody, but the goal is that we look after you. You have unlimited contact with us, and we want you to have property development success. So
we'll get you there safely.
Yeah, that's the goal there. So those are what we do offer, and if you're interested in knowing about that, then you're welcome to find out with us. But otherwise, if not, remember it does start with the real estate between your ears.
Yeah, that's an important piece of real estate, that one.
Yeah. So in parting, Bob, what would be your parting comment?
Look, it is a great industry to get into. I'm still there after 40 years. And if you want to underpin your financial success into the future, give yourself a good lifestyle, give your family a good lifestyle, thoroughly recommend you investigate property development. Look, gender, irrelevant, age, irrelevant, financial situation, not all that important, because we can teach how to do deals. What you really need is you want to do it, and you that's what you want to do.
And just understand that it's energy, effort, reward. So it's not, you don't land on your feet and make $1 million. You've got to learn what to do, and you've got to commit to it, and you've got to do the work. And that's what we do.
Yep. And
that's what we teach.
And that's what we teach. So if you're keen, we'll get you there.
All right. Well, thanks, Bob. And so I hope that we've come up with a nice, clear episode on how to get started on property development. If you think that there's somebody that might like this podcast, share it with them. So if you're on Spotify or Apple, you can actually share the episode so people can find us. And you can subscribe to us on YouTube, which we would really appreciate. Check us out. We've changed the setup. We look different tonight.
Tell us what you think. Do you like this setup or the old one? I like this one. I'm feeling pretty good with this one.
Yeah, I like this one too, Bob.
Yeah. Only thing missing is, maybe a glass of red or something. That's good. Just joking.
No, they couldn't hear anyway. We were away from the mic.
Okay.
You got away with it. All right. Well,
loved it.
Thanks very much. We'll catch up with you again next week. Bye.
Bye now.